Father Ted was the first time I actually saw Irish people being funny. And that was like a window opening. It was like, no, this is something you can do too.
On this episode of Garry Talks Film, I'm joined by the award-winning comedy and drama writer Richie Conroy, the creative mind behind Fran the Man, Craw, 2x2 and the upcoming Leonard and Hungry Paul. Richie has written feature films and television scripts for RTE, TG Ceathair, BBC, Disney and many more. We chat about his writing process, the opportunities for Irish screenwriters and why a good character can tell a great story.
I think we should give the writers as much opportunity to sit with their idea, to work on their idea before people start throwing them their own tuppence first, you know.
Yeah.
The character is always the most important thing of anything.
So you're saying focus on the character first?
Of anything you do, focus on the character.
Garry Talks Film, kindly supported by Grace on the Man Skillnet and the Rap Commission.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Richie, thanks so much for coming in to GK Media Studios and joining me on Garry Talks Film.
Thank you, Gary. Delighted to be here.
We met a few years ago in an airport.
That's right.
Italy,
Yeah.
and our flight was delayed.
Yeah, the meet cute of every good podcast story.
And our daughters ended up kind of hanging out, befriending each other.
Yes, that's right.
Became pen pals for a little while, which was cute.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And like, I still don't think that I copped who you are.
Who I am? Yeah, exactly.
When we were chatting that evening in the airport.
Well, I'm nobody, so who am I?
You're doing fantastic. I mean, the last couple of years have just been phenomenal for you.
Yeah.
As we are recording this last night, you won an award. Congratulations on that. Bring me back, before we talk about all the awards that you've collected over the years and all the successful productions, and if people go on IMDb, they'll even see the amount of projects you've worked on recently, how highly rated they are, and the extra work that's been commissioned and the spin-offs and everything. It's an amazing success story, but I think it's always good to bring it right back to who was Richie as a child, what sort of grabbed you, to kind of give us an idea of when you figured out what direction you wanted to go in.
Yeah, that's, Jesus. Are we allowed to curse on the
I can put explicit in afterwards.
No. But that's a good question. I think one of the pivotal moments in my life was when I first saw Father Ted. And I was about 15 maybe.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was the first time I saw Irish people on screen being funny.
Okay, yeah.
I loved comedy. Like, I loved The Simpsons, I loved Friends and Cheers and everything. And then Father Ted was the first time I actually saw Irish people being funny. And that was just it was like a window opening, and like it was permission then it was like, no, this is something you can do too.
Yeah.
It isn't just, Fawlty Towers and all that sort of stuff. Irish people can do it too. So I think it really gave me a bit of a kind of impetus then to follow a career.
So when you were saying you could do it too, were you saying I want to be an actor or a director or?
I wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
My father was a writer.
Okay.
Is a writer. So writing is part of the family.
And a writer in film and TV? Or?
Yeah, a writer in film and TV. The Simpsons was something I'd love to have written.
Yeah.
And I remember I was an altar boy, right? Now, not when I was 15, when I was about 12. And I remember funny ideas would come up to me, And I just remember thinking, like I used humor as well. I was like a short little fella in school who could have been bullied, but I was kind of funny, so I got away with.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's how you protected yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That, and I was a goalkeeper, so people just kind of left me off. Yeah, I think I really wanted to do comedy. I thought that would be a really fun career. It just looked like a fun thing to do. So when I went to college, then I was like sort of quite focused on learning how to be a writer, and a director was my kind of goal.
Okay.
Never a performer, funnily enough. And now when I look back and I go, why didn't you consider going down the performing route? But that never really occurred to me,
And there was nothing, watching your father growing up in his career, there was nothing that scared you about going down the route of writing?
No, because when you see your parents doing it, or when somebody close to you does it, it takes away the mystery and takes away the fear.
Yeah.
Because you can see that they've done it and they've managed to make a living,
So what did your dad work on?
He was on the Den.
Okay, cool.
Don Conroy is his name, and he used to
Oh, I never copped that.
yeah. So
fantastic research.
yeah. It's like
he wrote the artist.
The artist, yeah. So he would be on the Den once a week, and then he wrote books, children's books, novels, and then also kind of like how to draw books. He was on the radio. He's an artist as well. So there was like lots of strings to his bow, you know.
That's amazing. He was like idolized by our generation.
Exactly. And then we had Zig and Zag. Actually, in fairness, Zig and Zag and Dustin, as well as Father Ted. But Zig and Zag and Dustin were very funny.
Because you worked with them as well later, didn't you?
I did actually. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. But I remember like the Den was something that people used to watch and tune in for Dustin and for Zig and Zag. So that was like, again, there was a sort of early shoots of Irish comedy kind of coming through.
So you have your father then on national television,
yeah,
on a weekly basis, nearly. Like he was well known around the country.
Yeah.
How does that work for you then? Do you feel like if you want to go into the industry, that you have to get to his level, or that you're always going to be shadowed by him?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, so what I did was I moved to Galway.
Okay.
And I changed my name. I kind of developed an interest in Irish, which my father never. He didn't dislike Irish, but he you know, he wasn't much of a academic, you know. So I found Irish when I was about 15. I loved it. And then when I went to Galway, then I changed my name to Richard Mockinry. Because I thought that would just give me separate. I don't know, like it just.
Yeah, you want to form your own identity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then when I started writing, it was short stories, as Gaeltacht. And then, like, I don't go around advertising it, you know.
Yeah.
But like growing up as a kid, it was very much everybody knew, and like. It was probably something you were sort of trying to.
See, that's why you weren't picked on at school. It was nothing to do with your jokes. It's your dad is done.
No, well, it'd be funny. That would be one of the high reasons for slagging as well. You know what I mean? But Asher, look, it's all.
So
good.
you're a man from the East Coast, right? From Kildare.
Yeah.
Learning Irish, moving to the West.
Yes.
Like, that was huge back then, because Irish, with respect, has only become popular in the last 20 years or so.
Yeah. Well, I failed Irish for my junior cert. So then it was kind of sent to the Gaeltacht to learn Irish. And I went to Connemara, to Carrow, and like, we didn't speak much Irish, but we had the best crack ever. You know, it's just amazing. An amazing kind of, it's like being dropped into this alien landscape, you know, and you're on your own for 3 weeks, no parents.
Yeah.
Do what you like. Yeah. Kind of, within reason.
Yeah.
So I think and then also learn the language kind of through osmosis, you know. And then you get to be yourself as well. It's sort of like, you're not the lip 80, the labels aren't there. So you kind of just be yourself and make friends with people who, when you're growing up, you're very much like friends with people in school or people who grew up on your street. But then, especially when you go to college, or if you go to Gaeltacht or go to different places, you just can make friends with people because you like them and they like you, you know what I mean? So it's a nice experience then as well,
It's amazing to think you failed Irish in your junior cert and you're writing books and TV shows and all that in Irish now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a turnaround.
Yeah. What is it that you loved about the language?
I just think, like, it was really weird. Like, my grandfather, my dad's dad, he was a big Gaeilgeoir, and he died when my dad was 6 months old. And so Irish should have been a big part of his life. And he was actually interned in the Curragh during the Second World War. De Valera kind of rounded up the usual suspects. Anyone who had they were worried there might be a kind of, we'd have a go at the English while they were at war again,
Yeah.
So he was brought to the Curragh, as were people like Martin O'Kine, Seamus O'Greena, a lot of the Irish language. And they learned Irish in the Curragh. So there was that kind of bubbling away in the background of my DNA, I think. And then,
how did he die? Your grandfather?
He died of, I think it was tuberculosis when my dad was only 6 months old. So I never knew him. But then when I turned 21, I got his Fáinne Or as a present,
His what?
His Fáinne Or, his gold.
Yes.
Which, funny story, but I was living in Galway at the time. And I came home, I was renting a house up in Westside, right?
Okay, yeah.
I was a student, right? And came home one night and the house had been burgled, right? And I was the only one there. The other guys had gone home for the weekend, so I was there on my own. And I had a little box full of, like, cufflinks and whatever little bits of jewellery I would have had, you know, and including the Fáinne ore, you know. So I phoned the guards and I said, look, there's been a robbery, you know. And they also took my school bag, my college bag, that had my homework in the side pockets, and just filled it up with what they could take. And the cops were like, okay, grand, well, we're going to send people up from the lab first thing in the morning. We'll get fingerprints, we'll get photographers up there, you know. Because I was trying to figure it out. It's like, you know, there's a cigarette butt here, so you might be able to get DNA off the cigarette butt. And then they use a can of Fanta or a bottle of Fanta to force open the door. You might be able to get fingerprints off it. And the cops were like, brilliant, yeah, okay. We'll send somebody up tomorrow. And I sat there like a little lapdog waiting for the cops to arrive, and the team.
Forensics.
Forensics. And nobody showed up, you know. And it was about 6 p.m. when it dawned on me that they were taking the piss out of me, you know. And I was like, oh, okay. That's how grown-ups treat each other, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, so that was the end of the Fáinne ore, unfortunately. It was gone. So anyway, Irish language, just really loved being in the Gaeltacht. And it really clicked for me when I went down there, you know. Like, it's amazing. It's really hard to learn a language from a book, but like, put yourself in Spain for a couple of weeks, or in France for a couple of weeks, or down in Connemara or Guido or wherever, and it'll just start kind of seeping into you, you know.
Yeah,
like the damp.
Yeah. I won't say what Richie said when he landed here in Galway this afternoon.
Yeah.
The weather hasn't changed much anyways. So what did you study in? Was it College in Galway you went to?
College in Dublin, and then postgrad in Galway, and I did media studies.
Okay.
Through Irish.
Now, there wasn't really much going on in the industry at this stage, was there?
No, there was. I mean, TNG was on the go.
Okay.
So this is back in 2002. So there was kind of, I think it was TG Carr at that point, actually. And then, so my goal was to become a writer for Ross na Rún. That's what I really wanted, you know.
Brilliant.
And then there would have been, so there would have been kind of opportunities to do that.
So you went knocking on the door, sending in your CV.
I did, yeah. I didn't get the gig. No,
you didn't get the gig?
No, there was two of us. There was two of us who were wanting to pursue writing, and my friend Maeve, she got work experience with Ross na Rún for a month, and I ended up getting work experience for a company in Galway called Magma Films.
Oh yeah,
for a month, and that was the kind of two roads that diverged in the wood. But with Magma Films, their business really was to script write animation series for the European market. So they had this like studio on the Cathedral Street or somewhere like that, and it was like on one floor was like 5 or 6 writers who were just kind of writing scripts all day long, you know. And then there was the production team and post-production. So it was amazing. Like, I was like, oh, and they were doing amazing work, you know. So it was a great learning curve for me. And then I got a job there, and then started writing scripts for their shows, you know. So they were making shows for the BBC, for Germany, Australia, America, you know, all around the world, and got the opportunity to and they were kind of animation usually, so it was comedy as well.
Okay.
So the two things kind of diverged.
Because you wanted to come in as a comedy writer.
That's what I wanted to do, was write comedy, yeah.
So what was influencing you at this stage?
Paths to Freedom would have been a big one, you know. So I would say that was one of the first Irish productions that were like, okay, fantastic. Yeah. We're able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, because with Father Ted, it's actually a British production.
Yeah.
I know. But like, you know, we can't claim, like, you know, obviously the directors and the writers and the cast are all Irish, but RT, Paths to Freedom was the first time.
That was Michael McElhatton, wasn't it?
Michael McElhatton, Ian Fitzgibbon, Deirdre O'Kane.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Brilliant, really funny. Yeah. And then, of course, you see, we were always really good at doing funny films, feature films.
Yeah.
So we had the sort of the Barrytown trilogy.
That's right.
I Went Down came out, and that was great.
Yeah.
So we always had this kind of roguish, lovable kind of.
Yeah, because there was a lot of stuff being made at a low budget, but we were making it work.
Yeah,
as an industry.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
we were working off, I suppose, our dark humor.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, but TV, we just weren't really at the races.
No.
Which is weird, because like we've always had brilliant stand-up talent, you know, and people like Dylan Moore, and I remember he was doing stuff for Channel 4, Black Books. Yeah. And it just never made sense to me why that couldn't have been a commissioner in RTE going, just here, do whatever.
Yeah.
Make whatever you need to make, and we'll sell it for profit. We'll sell it across the world, you know. And it's still the case, you know. It's difficult to get stuff away in Ireland, you know.
So, because I think it's important to have that conversation as well, where you are in the industry now over 20 years, and you've seen improvements, but where do you still see difficulties?
I just think there's difficulty. There's difficulties getting stuff made. There's a sort of hot housing that goes on, where people can make things at a certain level, a certain budget level, and then once you kind of pass that budget level, you're
it's a different game.
And you'll notice a lot of people that like make their first couple of movies in Ireland using Irish money, and then they just sort of grow out of it, you know.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. It'd be great if we could keep those people. It's like with the soccer, you know. Like I'm a big soccer fan, but it's like there's a concept of the magic airplane or the magic boat, you know. So you have a guy like Liam Scales who's playing for Shamrock Rovers, and then he signs for Celtic the next week and gets the magic boat across to Scotland, and then he's in the Irish senior squad.
Yeah.
And actually nothing has happened in the meantime to Liam to make him a better player. He's just gone on this magic bus, you know what I mean, or magic boat. And I just think the same thing kind of exists in the film industry and in the TV industry, where we're kind of exporting a lot of our talent, and I don't know how we get them back, you know.
Well, I suppose things are changing at the moment in terms of what's going on in North America, with the industry suffering there from the various strikes that have taken place. But the counterbalance is, if there's 100% tariffs on films made outside of the US, how does that affect countries like Ireland as well now? Yeah.
But, you know, like there's definitely been films, and there's probably a film every year that just kind of shows you there is a way, you know? And like Kneecap last year and on Colin Kuhn, that they made Face the Rising Sun. Like these films that are quintessentially Irish, and they're not trying to do anything. They're like proudly Irish. And then there's a huge market for them, you know? So I feel like that's kind of what we should be doing. It's certainly something that works, rather than trying to ape stuff that's been done across the water, you know?
And the reality is that all comes from the writing. So, you know, like we were taught in college, you can make a bad movie out of a great script, but you can never make a great movie out of a bad script.
Exactly, yeah.
So do you think then, putting you on the spot, do you think there's enough investment in writing and development at the moment?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Like I don't, but I do think we're really lucky to have Screen Ireland. Like so lucky.
Yeah.
And like when I meet colleagues from America, they can't believe that we have such a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And what I'd love to see is, and I think they are trying to bring this in, but like, you know, it seems to be, you go back and you're back to square one, and that we're developing projects rather than talent. So like sometimes, like I've submitted a project and it's been rejected for whatever reason, and you're like, well, you know, you backed my other project and I've proved myself surely a little bit. So is there not a pathway for people who have proved themselves to then, you know, not have to go back to the beginning again? So I do feel like we should be promoting talent and not ever projects, because projects will evolve and become good, you know. And certainly, like I do a lot of work in Germany, and there was a system in Germany where, like, and I think we're bringing that sort of stuff in now, where like if you have a film and it's performed well in the box office, then, you know, you get a percentage guaranteed for your next movie. So it just takes a little bit of the kind of like pressure off everybody, because talent management at the early stages is really important. Like the people working in RTE or in Screen Ireland or any of these places who are kind of like putting a lot of effort into kind of helping writers get to the best place where they can be, they don't actually have to do that level of hand holding with the more experienced writers, you know.
Because they have done the slate funding for companies, but that just helps a few companies where they get a pot of money. And our biggest issue, the first feature film I worked on, from our first meeting in Mannheim, Germany, to when it actually got made and in cinemas, took 5 years. And all our focus was on that. So when that project was done, we were looking around like, actually, we don't have a plan B. We've nothing lined up for the next gig. And then everything just kind of nosedived for us. And it's, unless you have the budget to have the resources where you have constant development, production and post going on at the same time. It is hard. So it's terrible to think that the value, the experience, the talent that you are is not acknowledged, that you're back to square one each time.
It certainly kind of feels like that. Because we've had projects that have been rejected at submission stage where it's just like, it's mental that they've been rejected, you know? And that kind of puts you off kind of going back, you know what I mean? You're just like, I'd avoid it if I can.
Yeah, those few days after a rejection letter are pretty miserable.
And I understand why there is. I understand why that system has to be there. But I also do some work with the Arts Council. And I actually work on the other side of the table where I adjudicate projects that come in. And they have a very simple points system, you know? And it's like, it takes the kind of subjectivity out of the decision, where it's like, you know, you're scoring certain points for experience, for this, that, and the other. And then, you know, evaluating the project, you know, you're asked to read 10 pages of a submission and like, is it like legible? Yes. Is it your job to tell the writer what they're doing wrong? No. Your job is just there to kind of facilitate and let them get on with it, you know? So I feel like there has to be a bit of that too, you know? Like like in screenwriting, there's too many cooks sometimes, you know?
100%.
And it's hard for writers because like we are...
Well, the producer's giving you an opinion, the director, the script editor, the financer. And you can easily lose sight of what the core of your message is.
Exactly. And you kind of have to be careful, especially when you're starting out. You're grateful that you're being given opportunities. You're possibly tend towards people pleasing or something like that. And you have to, like, it takes a while to learn to have the courage to kind of say no, you know, and be prepared to walk away from something that's not the way you want to do it, you know, rather than trying to force, you know, a round peg into a square hole type of scenario, you know. So like because I actually do get asked to script edit as well, and I say, I'm here to help the writer, you know, and like, I think we should give the writers as much opportunity to sit with their idea, to work on their idea before people start throwing them their own tuppences worth, you know. Like, seriously, like, you know.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Well, it can be, like, I mean, it's you can see why people sort of become disillusioned and drop out, you know. So it's kind of man management as well. And like some writers love that. Some writers, like I know Judd Apatow, like when he's writing a script, he's sending his producer the 2 pages he wrote today because he loves that live feedback. That's like, oh, this is great, keep going, well done, you know. And he's got a huge like track record, but he still does that. But then other writers like need to just be left alone to kind of find their voice, find what it is they're kind of passionate about before too many ideas get thrown at them, you know.
So let's take, for example, Fran the Man. Okay, which was it a short years earlier?
It was a short TV series, if you know what I mean. So 10 episodes of 10 minutes each.
And then it became a feature film. A couple of years, it'd be 2 years ago you were in production, I'd say, was it?
2 years in production. It was released this year,
So you probably had an idea, the concept, but what's the method that you do in terms of, let's turn this idea into a feature-length script? Like, what's the process there?
Well, it's like it comes from the character. Okay.
So you focus on the character.
100% the character.
Okay.
Like it always has to be the character.
Sorry.
What are you laughing
I feel like you're giving off to me now.
Oh, no, sorry. No. It's but you know, funny enough, it's the pitch that usually kind of the plot pitch that gets people excited, right? So when you're pitching, you're usually like the elevator pitch is like, and then, and people are like, ooh. But actually, like really, it's the character is is always the most important thing of anything.
So you're saying focus on the character first.
Of anything you do, focus on the character. I was only talking to somebody about this yesterday. Like, if you watch Succession,
yes,
and like, what's the plot of Succession? You know what I mean? Like, it's very complicated. It's like
it's a dysfunctional family.
Yeah, but essentially, like the characters are really strong, right? Like, when you're not watching that to see if they managed to get the takeover today or the the stock market crash. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's just like what's going to happen with the characters, you know? So that's the thing to really, really work on, you know? And with Fran, like, because I played football all my life and I met characters like that all the time.
Okay.
And like it's just that sort of like lovely universality of a character that's like a bit of a fool, but also has a heart, you know? That's great for comedy, you know what I mean? And like, I remember being like this, and this was something like when I was 15, I was playing for the senior team in the local soccer team, like, which was way too young to be in a room of adult idiot men, you know what I mean? And like, the team talks every week were the exact same, and you know, I was just like, I'm sitting there going, God, let's go out and just play football with you. And I remember there used to be a valuables bag, you know, so like you'd be playing out and somewhere, like, and you'd be like, right lads, valuables, you know, so you'd give your wallet and your keys, and the assistant manager's job was to mind the valuables bag for the match, you know, so that nobody else would come and steal it, you know. And I remember one player kind of going, are you leaving the valuables bag in the dressing room, or are you bringing it out to this? And he's like, no, we're going to leave it here to make it easier for the criminals to steal everything, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just all there, lads, you know? So there was that sort of banter, but like, even at 15, I was like, oh, this is kind of, there's something here, you know? So for the feature film, I, like, at the time, David Brent had a feature film, Alan Partridge had a feature film, Thick of It had a feature film. So it was like, okay, what would a kind of good feature film for Fran be? And I always thought match fixing, because it's something that happens a lot, would be an interesting one, you know? And for Fran to be a quasi-detective, I just love that idea of like somebody that stupid trying to kind of save football, you know what I mean? And, you know, steal like an artist, but I'm a big fan of The Sopranos, you know? Have you seen that?
Yeah, of course.
And, you know,
best thing I watched during COVID.
In COVID. But you remember this season where Pussy is a rat and he's working for the FBI, and he's kind of like watching the other guys, and he's kind of making notes in his dictaphone. He's like, you know, just kind of that sort of thing where you just know it's not going to turn out well. So that was kind of what I was thinking about for the character. And then it's like, I'd love to see him doing that, trying to find out like which of his players is taking a bribe, which of his players is playing particularly badly today, when they're kind of always playing badly. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it's not an easy spot. And then like, why? You know what I mean? So then the plot starts to come in, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they get qualified for the FAI Cup for the first time, and it's a big match, and you can actually bet on. You can certainly bet in the FAI Cup. You can actually bet on Leinster Senior League matches online, you know. So it's there, and one thing that I really wanted to avoid was the usual sports feature film, where it's like the moral victory, you know, like
the big dressing room talk at the end for the big act 3,
and it's been done so many times. So like, I wanted to do something different that you would think, you know. I love the idea of the audience going in and thinking, oh yeah, there'll be jokes, and then we'll have this typical kind of match, and it'll be the halftime, and there'll be a bit like, and then to turn it on their head, and then, because that's at the point where they start leaning in and going, oh, right, I wasn't expecting us to go in this direction, you know.
I think it's cool that you speak about something that, you know, you created years ago with such passion still today. Like, you lit up when you were talking.
Oh, right.
About, but that's brilliant. Yeah. Whereas, you know, some of us are just worn at that stage from the whole thing, and don't want to think about it again.
No, it was a great experience. Really interesting experience. And I had directed the series, and I had kind of wanted to become a director, and like when I started out in college, but I'd focused on writing. And then when it came to like Screen Ireland were so supportive, and they backed us all the way, and it was brilliant. And then when it came to a director, it's like, well, you can do it, maybe, and the budget will be at this level, or you could get a good director, like Stephen Bradley, to come in, and that'll raise the budget and, you know, raise the bar everywhere, you know. So it was a no-brainer. Like, I wanted the best team.
Yeah. And did you know Stephen Bradley beforehand?
No, I didn't. I knew Deirdre, his wife.
Yeah.
So I think I started following him on Twitter before Twitter turned evil.
Yeah.
I saw that he was tweeting about football sometimes, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I read his book, Shooting and Cutting. And it's a lovely book. He actually went through a pretty big cancer journey. Yeah. And I remember listening to a radio interview he did, and I just thought, oh yeah, he sounds like somebody I could work with, you know. And he was, you know.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's really nice. And somebody, it's like there's a lot of trust, you know, and he's somebody I like trusted straight away, you know.
Because Fran the Man is something you created.
Yeah.
You know, even go back to when you were involved in the series.
Yeah. And myself and Mark Hodkinson created it. So sorry, go on. Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have the scripts done.
Yeah.
You're handing it over now.
Yeah.
Complete out of your hands. You've you know, you can't say, well, I want this actor or this composer or anything like that.
Yeah.
Were you cool with that?
I think that, no, I was, but like, I think it's a journey as well. And there is a trust, and I didn't want to be a hard luck story. So like, it was during this process I learned to kind of stand up for myself and not to just always try to be kind of nice or
people pleaser.
You know what I mean? So like, if there was something I felt like, no, hang on a second now, like I had to say that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a good learning curve for me.
So you're finding your voice off script then?
Yeah. And having the confidence to kind of to speak up and to kind of, but like, in fairness to Stephen, like he's very, very trustworthy. And you know, you read like stories of directors who then just take something and just do their own thing, and that was never his intention, you know. So
because it's an interesting point you're making. We spend so long trying to get into the industry. You know, the things you're taught early on, saying, say yes to everything, be obliging, work the extra hours, arrives first and said whatever.
Yeah.
So you're always accommodating.
That is important.
Yeah. But then, you know, there's a balance then where it's kind of like, okay, no, I know my true value. I'm established. I know what my voice is. I know what the messages I want to say. Yeah. I need to kind of just lean a little bit more this way now.
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting though, because like at the same time as Fran was kind of coming out, I was writing something else, and I had said like, look, I want to be executive producer, right? Because I want to have
on this or another project,
you know. And I was like, I want to have, I don't want to have total control, but I want to have a say at the table when we're casting. I want to look at cuts. I want to have an opinion, you know. That's what I want. And like all the best projects that are The Sopranos and everything else, you know, you have writers from script to screen, you know. So, and there's a lot of talk now. It's like, oh, you know, we need showrunners in Ireland. And it's like, but producers are they're quick to talk about it, but slow to let it happen, you know, because it means actually inviting somebody up to the table and sharing it, you know, which they're nervous about doing, you know. And then writers have to be prepared to step up and understand what's involved work-wise, you know. Like, you can't be sitting in Noctons having pints at 4 PM if you're supposed to be, you know, like you have to be serious as a professional. But I went for what I said to my agent, look, I want to be executive producer, and if they're not okay with that, I'm okay with walking away from this big project.
Wow.
And I was okay. And I turned my phone off and I went for a walk for an hour and came back to the car, turned the phone on, and there was an email saying, they've agreed to the executive producing thing. But it took me to get to the point of, actually, I will walk away from this, because I don't want to spend a year working on a project and then be disappointed by casting or stuff that just didn't. I could have had an input and said, no, actually, I see the character more like this.
And you're still involved then as a writer, even though the script is delivered. I know you can be making changes throughout, but generally speaking, you have continued to work through the production process.
Yeah. And with Fran the Man, then Stephen actually asked me to direct all the football sequences, you know.
Oh, right.
So I was on set and very much like part of the team. There was no, like, he stuck to the script. Like, there wasn't this kind of space for too much ad-libbing, you know. And you kind of don't mind that in a comedy, because generally an ad-lib will get an extra laugh, you know. But, and then with the edit, there was like, you know, I was getting to look at all the edits. I would have a significant say, and like, I knew, like, if there was something I was really strong about, I would let them know, no, I know I've said this maybe on this scene, but like, this is something I really, really want. And in fairness, like, they listened when
that's brilliant.
I had. So it's like, keep your powder dry. You know, don't, like, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's understanding that whole collaboration aspect to it.
But I know, like, this series is just great, and I would have loved if something like this existed when I started. But it's like, it's kind of like, as you say, the balance for starting out, being eager, being like a team player, but also knowing when you is the right to transition into, no, you're gonna have to respect me a bit more on this time. You know what I mean? And it is a journey, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to start out the gate like, you know,
like a diva.
That's not going to work, you know? So, yeah.
No, that's brilliant. And thanks for sharing those insights. Talk to me about, like, how do you get into the process of physically writing? Is it in a typewriter? Is it on a computer? Do you close the curtains? Do you play music in the background? Do you go to the beach? How do you do it?
Typewriter.
Well, Christopher Nolan still uses a typewriter.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Yeah. He's got some. Yeah, I now know. It's definitely not a typewriter. I'm not that old.
No pipe.
It's a computer. Yeah. So I write every day for 4 hours.
Oh, right.
So I write every day for 4 hours.
Is it a set time?
It is usually it's between 10 and 4. And then there's like emails and phone calls and stuff as well during that time. But
interrupting you?
Well, yeah, but scheduled, you know what I mean? Like I have to do Zooms and do like stuff like that. But podcasts, yeah. But generally speaking, I write every day.
Okay.
And like,
but I can't believe you leave your phone on and your emails.
Yeah, like there wouldn't be like notifications on or anything like that.
Okay. So it's when you go to check.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I'm editing, like, everything is on shutdown because the
and I think that's
drive me crack.
Yeah. And I think I have to start doing that probably. But you'd be surprised how many writers don't actually necessarily write every day.
Yeah.
Like, that should be pretty fundamental.
Yeah.
I remember like I love stand-up comedians, and I love podcasts with stand-up comedians talking about the craft, you know. And there's one guy, Todd Barry, but he was saying he was trying to get his fellow comedians to kind of do a bit of a writing workshop, you know, and they were just like, they're like, nah, you know, they kind of figure stuff out on stage, you know. And it was just, and the one guy who was like, I'm going to write every day is Jerry Seinfeld, you know.
Okay.
And you can kind of see, like, not that everything he does is good, but it's like there's a consistency there, you know.
Yeah.
And Stephen King's book on writing is still like the number one book to read for any aspiring writer.
Okay.
And Stephen King writes every morning, you know. And again, doesn't always hit the but he's like, he just does it, you know.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with his output.
No.
And
absolutely.
consistency, and like, he's written some of the best stuff ever, you know. He struggles sometimes with endings, but like, you know what I mean? He's great ideas.
He keeps you going through.
Yeah. But if you think about like some of my favorite films have come from his brain, like, you know, Stand By Me, Misery, you know, Shawshank Redemption, like, so much stuff.
But like, what about Larry David and Mel Brooks? Are you into that?
Oh yeah. But like, again, they're hardworking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And they might give a persona.
You're doing, what, 20 hours a week?
Yeah. Like, after 4, like, if I do more than 4 hours, my brain is fried.
Okay.
And like, when I come home after a day's writing, if I have to do like more than 4 hours, my words start failing me, you know.
And do you not write at home?
No, I have an office in the village.
Okay.
Just above the butcher. So,
and why do you leave home to?
Well, I have to kind of get away from
the family.
No, they're all in school. No,
it's the dog, is it?
No. It's more. I like to have somewhere to go, and then somewhere to close the door.
Okay.
You know, and then I don't I do sometimes work from home, but I prefer home to be home.
Okay. Very good.
And even when I lived in Galway, like I had an office in the village. Well, I call the village the city centre or whatever. But like, you know, I had the space in my place to work from home, but I'd still come in and do a bit of work, and you know, a bit of human interaction as well. You know,
I suppose you're picking up ideas as well when you're venturing outside of your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Seeing people in different scenarios.
Yeah, and it feels professional then, you know.
Yeah. So if let's say you're working on set for Fran the Man. Do you have to kind of put down your pen as such, even though you're on the computer? Like you don't get to write anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Else then?
No.
Yeah.
And it's if you can do that, that's great. You know,
because the pressure's on then once that project is done
to have something else ready to go. Yeah. So like at any one time, like at the moment, I would have 5 projects on the go that I'm writing actively, and that is a lot.
That is brain power, like
you
know,
and like I probably shouldn't have said that. They don't know necessarily that's so can we cut this? No. But I mean, like one would be a feature film in Germany that's a second draft or third draft. Another would be a radio drama that's, you know, but it's like.
But how do you even get into that world? Like, does it take 10, 20 minutes to get back in to that? And then suddenly you're working on a story base in Dublin, then you're up in Donegal and.
Yeah, I mean, I try to kind of like maybe just do one a day, you know.
Yeah, because I can see why you'd be fried now from that.
Yeah,
that's real.
Now I wouldn't be working on 5 things in the one day.
Yeah,
but like I would be juggling deadlines. So I might have a deadline in the middle of October for one thing, and I'm like, okay, well, if I get this done by then I can, you know. I always build in some sort of cushions for myself, you know.
And have you fallen into the trap of like, when I've half a bottle of whiskey, I'm a better writer?
No. And I was only talking about this to somebody today, because actually when you're hungover, you do have good ideas for about 20 minutes. Like properly hungover. Like your brain works in a slightly mad way. But I remember when I worked in Magma, I made a deal with myself that if I can't do it on a cold, wet Monday morning, I'm not doing it. You know, because you could see that with, and maybe like I remember like obviously Dylan Moran was playing a character a lot of the time, and even his stand-up persona is a character. But this notion of the sort of the drunk artist, you know, I could see how that is a real thing, and I didn't want to go there. You know what I mean? Because you could see how it would. You definitely have some weird creativity if you're hungover, and then like I just was never into recreational drugs, but like obviously like a lot of music gets written under the influence and some amazing stuff. But like no, if you can kind of do it sober, that's the best. That's the best, you know.
And what about when you hit a writer's block? What's your solution to that?
It's never happened to me.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I could use some vulgar words, right?
I don't mean that in a kind of like, but it's never happened.
You've never like opened up the laptop and we're like, right, and you start staring at the ceiling, nearly like you're an altar boy, 12 years of age again, just wondering what to do with life.
No. But I think I plan a lot. So I don't really open up a laptop and have a kind of blank screen and not sure what's going to happen next, you know. So there's an awful lot of planning. And then if I am working on a couple of projects and one, I'm not feeling it today on one, I can jump over to the next one, you know.
Okay. But I suppose when you're finished your 4 hours writing, your probably head is just ticking along all day anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not switching off fully.
No, and I'm not actively thinking about things, but like you know, I could reach a problem in a story and I'm not sure what's going to happen next. And then I'll go for a walk, or, you know.
Do you find walking is good?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, like, I was doing a writer's room up in Donegal there in June, and like I've done writer's rooms in London, right? And you're kind of in a room like this with no windows and harsh
But a beautiful room.
A beautiful room.
A beautiful room.
It is lovely. But you know the kind of room, and there's whiteboards everywhere, and you're just like, and I just think they're terrible for creativity.
Yeah.
Really. And so we were doing a writer's room doing a goal. I was like, right, come on, let's go for a walk. The whole lot of us, let's just go for a walk. We have this issue with this plot point. Let's walk for an hour and see what we can come up with. And like everyone was just like, you know, what's the story with your man? Like, this isn't the way it's done. But like, yeah, like I love the story of Lawrence Kasdan and J.J. Abrams when they were working on the new Star Wars film, Force Awakens. And they were saying they wrote the whole thing walking around Paris.
Wow.
So it wasn't on a laptop, it was walking, talking, you know.
Cool.
And then when you come to the laptop, then you're sort of typing.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So then the kind of writer's block doesn't really come into it because you've got all this stuff that you're like, okay, I know, like I've lots of stuff to do, and I know more ideas are going to come when I'm at the laptop, you know.
You wanted to become a comedy writer. What direction, like, you know, you're a dad now, you know, you're a grown man, you're aware of more what's going on in the world and everything, and you know what works and what doesn't work in terms of storytelling. What direction do you still want to carry on as a comedy writer, or is there some sort of stories or messages or themes you want to focus on down the road?
I definitely that's a really interesting question, because I think to allow yourself to evolve is important. And the stuff that would have interested me 20 years ago doesn't really interest me anymore. And it's sad to say, but like that's sort of like, maybe like I would have had pitches 20 years about it, like a neurotic guy in his 20s who was trying to fall in love, you know, and I'm just like, oh, get over yourself, you know what I mean? Like, so it's interesting how we kind of do evolve. And I had to kind of think about my voice. Like when you're starting out, it's like there's a lot of talk about like, what's your voice? What's your voice? You know, I never knew. I was like, I don't know what my voice is, you know, because when you start off, a lot of the time you're imitating somebody you like.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see with chefs, right? You want to be a chef, right? You go and you get a Darina Allen book or a Rick Stein book or something, and you literally copy their recipes, and then you start to you perfect it, and then you're like, okay, but I'm going to bring my own twist in and my own life experience, and then you're starting to find your own voice, but you're still making a spaghetti carbonara or whatever it would be, you know. So it takes a while to find your own voice, but it is a sort of culmination of your experiences and your POV of the world, you know. And like for me, I think like one thing that I really like is to feel good, right? And like to leave people feeling good. And that was the intention with Fran. It was like, I want people to go in there and have a feel good experience. So when they walk out, they like just go, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's so much like, it's so I don't mean easy, but it's so easy to find stuff to make us feel bad.
Yeah.
And you just have to turn on the news and you'll just feel bad. And you'll turn on dramas and you can just feel bad. But actually to kind of try and elevate people and make them feel good is something that I kind of think is important and part of why I do what I do, you know?
Yeah.
So I'd say that will, I'd like to think that will still be part of what I do going forward, you know?
Brilliant.
But who knows, you know? Like I'd love to, like one of my favorite writers is William Goldman. And he wanted to try every genre. So he wrote, I don't think he ever wrote a musical, but he wanted to write a musical. But he wrote a Western. He wrote the Feature of Misery, Butch Cassidy. Like he's done loads of stuff. So I'm more interested now in like having comedy, but also trying different genres as well, you know.
Would you do a musical?
Well, I don't think a musical. I'd love to do a kind of a thriller, like.
Okay. Yeah.
And I co-wrote Craw.
A feel-good thriller.
A feel-good thriller. Well, like one thing, like, but something that's based in kind of truth, you know. Like one thing that kind of irks me is when I see dramas, especially, and everybody's been really serious all the time, because like that's not how we communicate with each other, you know. So I think that's why, like for me, The Sopranos is brilliant, because there's a lot of comedy and people getting frustrated with each other and people being funny sometimes and laughing and like I love to see that on screen, you know. Even with a dark story, that there's kind of there's room for light too, you know.
Yeah. Well, Julia Roberts is going to be in your next production.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so that's something Mark Hodkinson, who I wrote Fran with, and I have been working on with Subotica, and it's an adaptation of Leonard and Hungry Paul, which is a novel by Ronan Hession. And it's a lovely, feel-good kind of story with very little plot about two guys in their 30s who are trying to kind of figure out their place in the world, you know. The main character, Leonard, his mother dies early in the story, and he's left alone. His dad has already passed away, and he kind of figures, oh, my world is shrinking, and if I don't kind of put myself out there, you know, my world just keep shrinking, you know. So that's really the story, you know. And then it's just a study in his character and his best friend, Hungry Paul, who's just this kind of like sort of odd guy who just floats through life like a kind of grown-up version of Winnie the Pooh, you know.
Okay, yeah.
But it's been, when we tackled the book, like the book is lovely, and the description in the book is beautiful, but it's very light on plot, like deliberately,
because
so.
Character is important.
Yeah. And in a book,
I'm learning.
Yeah, but in a book you can get into a character's head quite easily, you know. So we were like, how we do this? And we're like, and it's funny, like all the screenwriting books are like, don't ever use narration, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, whatever. So we were like, let's use narration, you know. And so we have a narrator, and Julia Roberts is doing the narration.
But how did that come
out? So what happened was, she actually had read the book and she really liked the book.
Okay.
And we were tossing around names for who the narrator could be, and the producers were like, oh, Julia Roberts is a really big fan. And we were like, well, ask her. And like people kind of laughed when that was mentioned, but the producers, fair play to them, they went, and she obviously said yes, you know.
Brilliant.
So
Julia Roberts will speak your words.
Yeah,
and Mark's,
me and Mark's words, yeah.
You didn't think of that when you were watching Pretty Woman
in
the
exactly,
90s.
Yeah. But it just shows you know, like for two, like Mark and I would be two of the most laziest writers. Like I call him, like he's like a Jeffrey Lebowski, Ivor Doe, you know what I mean? It's like Mark got COVID once. I was like, how did you get COVID? You never leave your house. And but like, you know, Mark and I haven't been like, you know, furiously like networking and kind of like going to LA and going and been you know, we've just really been focusing on the craft and writing and getting as good as we can, you know. And you don't have to, you can be based in Galway or based in Kildare or Dublin or whatever, and write stuff that has international appeal, you know. But
you've partnered with many writers, haven't you?
Sometimes, yeah. Like,
so you've written on your own, you've partnered with others. I mean,
yeah,
there has to be pros and cons to that, I presume.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it doesn't always work. Like, it's a collaborative process. Like, filmmaking is a collaborative process, and it especially if you're doing a series, like it's hard to do that all on your own. Like if it's a film, it's easier.
Okay.
But like from day one, like when I worked in Galway, there would always be like maybe 10 writers on a series. If there was 26 eps, there'd be maybe 7 to 10 writers, you know, and you'd all be trying to write more or less the same way, you know. Like it's when it works.
But what
really
happens
good.
Halfway through and you realize I'm not getting on with this person at all, or they're not pulling their weight? Like,
yeah.
How do you handle that situation?
Good question. I mean, again, I suppose like honesty and yeah, it's a tough one. You know, thankfully that hasn't happened too many times.
Honesty and hitmen.
What?
Honesty and hitmen.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's a tough one because you're in the middle then, and you kind of, it's hard to see the wood from the trees. But I think one thing to really learn is like, you know, like if there's a project that comes along, if you're starting out and someone's like, I'd love you two to maybe work together, like before you say yes, and you could be kind of blinded by the kind of, oh, look, deadly, they're going to get me to work. Maybe just spend some time with that person and see if there's something, if there's a connection there, you know?
Yeah.
And like do phone people and just check.
Yeah,
and
good
just
point
say,
actually,
like, what are they like?
What are they like actually on set,
Yeah. And equally like not everybody's going to get on with me, you know what I mean? So it isn't that, and that's one thing that's like when you like, one thing that happens as you get a bit older and a more experienced is you kind of, there's a shorthand to the people that you're like, actually, yeah, no, I get on, I see eye to eye with this person, and I wouldn't with this person, and there's nothing wrong with that person.
Yeah.
It's just we're on a different kind of vibe or whatever, you know. And I think that's something that's happened in the last number of years, like last 3 or 4 years. I've just found producers and directors that I really like working with, and they like working with me. So it's like, and then the ones who are like, I like working with Richie, but I'm not sure about, like, we wouldn't be creatively, maybe we might be personally very, very well aligned, but creatively pushing in slightly different directions.
Okay.
I can just let those kind of ones go and just focus on the ones where we're kind of creatively pushing in the same.
So it's not even about getting on with someone who's sound, it's that you can actually creatively align.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really important because like without that, you know, it's going this way and it's going that, and you're left with something that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time there's simple fixes, you know, and it's like about letting writers come in to be part of the process of casting, of, you know, even that the director should be comfortable enough to sit with a writer and explain how they're going to execute this. And then the writer can go, oh, well, actually, this is why this scene is here. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can't ever assume that the director understands every aspect of the script as well. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And again, that's sort of, that comes with experience.
Talk to me about Craw 2, gotten the green light for production.
Yes. Yeah, so
and
we're
congrats on the first series.
Thanks very much, yeah. So yeah, Craw 2, I'm not sure how much I can talk about it, but it's...
You're going to be back up in Donegal filming,
back up in Donegal filming.
And that's been a success.
Yeah.
That whole process.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing was, like, the interesting thing with Craw was that it had started off in Connemara. It was set in Connemara, and then between the jigs and the reels, it was relocated to Donegal.
Yeah.
And then that caused a complete rewrite from page one.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can't just find and replace Connemara with Gweedore or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's completely different worlds and the people are different, and everything is different, you know what I mean? So Donegal is stunning, and like my heroes are from Donegal, you know what I mean? Like Paggy Bonner. Yeah.
Shay
Given. So, but like, it's a really interesting place, and they call themselves the Forgotten County. There's no motorway to Donegal. To drive there is tough. And I worked a little bit as a journalist when I was in college, actually. I was writing for Foincha, and then I lectured a little bit in DCU. I was lecturing in journalism. But it's really interesting for like journalists and for guards who are operating out of a kind of small community, because the temptation has to be there to turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah.
Like if your kids are going to the same Gael school or the Neenera, and you're like, you know, I could just look the other way and that would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember in school, like there would be people smoking in the bike shed, and there were some teachers who were like straight over to the bike shed, try and catch you. And then there were other teachers who just never looked. You know what I mean? And they're just like, life's too short. I'm just not going to look.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was where, again, the character of Connell, it was like he's sort of been looking the other way. He's not really rocking the boat. And then something happens at the beginning of the story that forces him to kind of really go and solve a case, you know? And it's his mum has been found, her body has been found in the bog. Was she murdered? What happened to her? And it quickly transpires that she was murdered, and he has to find out who done it, you know. So it's an interesting character that's gone from like if he's to be a traffic cop, he's going to go up to the street that there's no traffic, you know what I mean? He's not going to catch anybody. And then he has to go on this. So series 2, we're going to follow his character.
Okay.
And
how many episodes?
There'll be 6 episodes, and he's not
It's fine. This isn't going out till tomorrow.
It's not going till tomorrow. Well, like, I'm not sure how much I can say, but like things have changed in his life. Let's put it like that.
Brilliant.
And it's going to be really, really interesting.
And when do you go into production?
In January, please God, yeah.
Okay.
So we're writing the scripts at the moment. So we've a great team of writers working on it. And it's really exciting.
Brilliant.
Really exciting.
Finally then, 2 questions.
Go.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a writer?
Okay. My advice is to write. Right. So like I said, you have to spend every day doing a bit of writing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Carve out. And if you're starting out, like go to the library. You don't need to have an office, you just need to have paper and a pencil or a laptop or whatever, or even your phone or whatever. Just go to the library and write. It's going to be hard to do a feature film or a TV series out the gate.
Yeah, true.
So I'd be looking at doing like a short film. I've recently written a radio drama. Brilliant. Like I did this radio drama that's like, I love it. And it's kind of Stranger Things, Oscailga, and they go to the other world and monsters. And it, there's no budget required really beyond... and it's brilliant, and it's so I'd be looking at doing radio. Also,
and that's through Commission a Man, then, is
Commission a Man, yeah. But again, you don't need to. You don't need permission to write. Like I give you permission to go and write. Write whatever short stories, anything that can kind of practice your craft. And then another thing that's really, really good to do is to get some time working in the soap operas. So Fair City and Rossnaroon currently are the 2 soaps in Ireland. I would be banging on that door. Get a year or 2 work experience. Not work experience, but experience working in soap operas, and it does wonders for your writing. You really learn how to like tell a story, hit deadlines, all those kind of things that are really important. And at the same time, if you're interested in comedy, animation, there's huge in Ireland. There's loads of animation productions going on in Ireland. They're always looking for writers. That's where I started, and still very, there's a lot of work there. And again, if I was starting out now, and if I wanted to be a performer, I think like I would be like writing and performing like the way people like.
Oh yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a great way just to kind of cut through the noise and get your sketches out there. But like we really have to kind of do it.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And I always feel that the industry in Ireland is small enough where everyone pretty much knows each other and has worked with each other, knows someone who's worked with that person, whatever. So it's just kind of getting in there, it's turning up, going to the film festivals, seeing what's on screen, who wrote, who directed, who starred, going to the little after parties, down to the Rome clubs or whatever, and just immersing yourself in the environment of the industry to then kind of know who to go to in terms of trying to pitch something or get a job somewhere or whatever.
And like courses, like I still try and do at least 1 course a year.
Oh wow.
And like it's the beauty of the job is you can never say you've learned it all.
Yeah.
Like so just Screen Skills, like Grace on the Man, any of the providers of training, like just do them, and you get to meet people who are on your own at your own kind of like stage in life. If you want to become a screenwriter, like a director is really important. Really important. So if you're not going to direct yourself, then you should be trying to make friends with directors, So that's something that would be, you can't,
that's brilliant.
Yeah. Like, and that you're going to meet the directors at the film festivals.
Yeah, exactly.
And usually directors are brilliant at what they have, but they're not screenwriters. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
That's why everyone kind of brings their own kind of skill set. There's a great guy, John. What was it? Oh God, he did that. Was it Type Shit, the film? The kind of ghost film from April. They shot it for like 16 grand up in the north. Anyway, they were college students, and they shot a feature film.
Wow.
And again, like just shot, and it got quite widely distributed in Ireland. You know, I think it was called Taibsha, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
And I think they shot it for like $6,000 or something like that. You know, and like himself and his mates.
Yeah.
So there's no like.
Yeah, you can just do stuff with your mates as well. I mean, didn't Peter Jackson go shooting a movie, brained it or something with his friends?
Yeah.
He was younger, and even, you know, I'm sure Tarantino to a degree with
absolutely
early stuff, and Scorsese had done it as well.
Like in your 20s, it's the time to play, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you've left school, like even in school, obviously, but if you're in college or if you've graduated and before you
life
buy,
gets serious.
Yeah, like use that time wisely, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that's not sitting in Noctons at 4 p.m.
No. I mean, there's an element of that, you know what I mean? But like genuinely get out and create, you know? And there really are loads of opportunities now that weren't necessarily there when I was at that age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and like YouTube, like I know it might sound very old by even mentioning YouTube, but like, you know, you do not, we with Fran, we got a short film award from the Galway Film Centre for 10 grand, right? To make Up for Air. And they said you'd have the equipment as well.
Yeah.
Go out and practice with the equipment before you start shooting your film. And at the same time, had this character, Fran, wrote a pilot episode, used their equipment to film it, got a friend to edit it, and that was how it got picked up. Because people couldn't read it off a script.
Yeah.
They could see the humour in a little pilot.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Which is what they had to do for The Office as well. They had to shoot.
Exactly, yeah. And that's where radio drama comes really good. Like, it's a really good proof of concept. Like, Mighty Boosh, Alan Partridge, loads of people started off, Little Britain, they all started off as a radio drama, as a radio comedies, you know. So I wouldn't, like, and you don't need necessarily an RTE to kind of broadcast it even. You can put it out yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes that feels like very, like, oh, geez, like that's, but essentially the advice is just do it, you know, every day. Have you done your work today? You know, and you do it every day, and then you will get better and you will be a professional.
Brilliant. Finally then, what advice would you give to someone working with a writer? Back off.
Working with a writer, like I think to create a kind of safe space where you can be really honest with each other is important. So where politeness really isn't what you want, you know what I mean? Okay. And like writers' rooms are brutal places, you know, they're mad, like this stuff that gets shared. But like, so that's where if people can feel safe, and you don't have to like, I was listening to a podcast actually last week, and it was one of the dragons from the British Dragons Den, and she was talking about this kind of idea of a shit sandwich, right? Where you deliver bad news in between good news.
Okay.
And it's like, no, because people can hear the good news and know that this is just plomos, you know, so sugarcoating. You don't need to do that. So it's to kind of create a space where people can be like honest and like egoless and professional and all that kind of, you know, but like just, I think that's the best way. And to let them know that, like, you know, you're not trying to undermine them or anything. You just feel like this kind of doesn't work. Offer solutions. Don't be too prescriptive necessarily. Like there's a great analogy with doctors, right? Like, you know, if you go into a doctor and you're like, oh, listen, I've got this like sore neck. I was on Google and I think maybe like the doctor's like, shut up. All I need to know is you've got a sore neck. Yeah. So like with a good writer, like you don't necessarily need to tell them what to do. You just need to say, there's something here I'm not quite sure. It doesn't feel right. And they should be able to take that on board, you know? And like it is ultimately kind of subjective as well. And
yeah, it is, right?
Yeah, and like make sure you're both kind of creatively on the same. With Stephen, one thing we did was the very first meeting we when we met up, he was like, let's not talk about the project at all. Let's just talk about what excites you, what stuff you like, you know. And that's like, that made me kind of go, oh, actually, yeah, we're kind of creatively on the same page, you know.
Yeah.
And when I'm working with Mark, like we did this Leonard Hungry Paul show, like we can be like straight into it, like, you know what I mean? And we're not unkind to each other, but if something's not working, it's like we're not like tiptoeing around each other. We're like straight in, and we have that trust where I know he's not doing it for any other reason other than to make the project as good as it can be, and vice versa, you know. So it's kind of creating that trust. I think that's really, really important, you know. Get out for a walk.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of news, you know, news could be delivered walking, I think. You know what I mean? It's like you can talk about stuff, anything that get, you know, just anything kind of relaxes people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Excellent.
Right.
Continued success.
Thanks, Garry.
You're doing brilliant.
Ah, stop it.
Thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, it was great. And well done. This is a great idea.
Garry Talks Film, kindly supported by Grace on the Man Skillnet and the Rap Commission.